CB Supplies, and we are here for the CIPH Committee Spill the Tea series. I am here with Warren Lowe, who is president of both CB Supplies and American Granby. Warren's been working in the plumbing and heating industry for just shy of 17 years and officially took over ownership of CB Supplies in 2012. So Warren, thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to dive in and looking forward to hearing all your insights.
Thanks, Katelyn. Good morning.
We can start with our quick icebreaker questions. So Warren, what is your go-to coffee or tea order?
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a coffee guy than a tea guy. When if I'm out on the road, typically more of an Americano from Starbucks for me. But at home, I'm a big Nespresso fan. I have an Nespresso machine that I really like. So I'll be enjoying that one today with my with my mug here.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm definitely more of a night person. I need to sometimes be up early in the morning for work, but I'm definitely more of a night person overall.
And are you a planner or do you wing it?
I think it sort of depends on the situation. I'm a little bit of a combination. I find I definitely need to plan and be organized with what I'm doing, but there's certainly sort of situations where I'm quite comfortable winging it as I go. So, bit of both.
And your desk, are you a desk minimalist or do you have organized chaos?
I'm pretty minimalist. I like to keep it pretty clean and tidy. I find anytime I start to get a bit of clutter on the desk, I get a little bit antsy and need to get it all cleared off. So definitely minimalist.
And last question is, what's something people would be maybe surprised to learn about you?
Surprised to learn about me. They might not know that when I was growing up, I actually did a lot of wakeboarding and started a ski school when I was a teenager with a friend of mine. We actually taught wakeboarding and water skiing on our lake up at the cottage.
Oh wow! Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. Perfect. All right. Well, let's dive in. To start, can you walk us through your career journey and how you became president?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, my career journey is, a little bit unique in that we have a family business. So I always knew kind of growing up that I wanted to get into the family business. So went to school, did a business degree, an undergrad at Wilfrid Laurier, went off and did some other jobs for a little bit, and then went back to school for an MBA. And after that, I came into the family business at that point and started working with my dad to try to figure out, where do we want to go from here. But we didn't have CB Supplies back then. We did have American Granby. My dad had acquired that company back in 1997. But we're based here in Toronto, and we were looking for something more in Canada that would be a good strategic fit with what we had. So almost right away after I came into the business, after school, we started looking for acquisition opportunities. And after about 3 years after I came in, we were able to close the deal with acquiring CB Supplies, which has just been a wonderful fit for us and an incredible journey since we acquired that company in 2012. But for me, it was a matter of coming into the industry, sort of being in the family business, kind of thrust into a more senior leadership position at a young age. I was in my late 20s, kind of coming in and trying to figure things out and learn, while also making sure that I'm not just trying to be cocky and tell everybody what to do while I still really had no experience or leg to stand on. So that was a fun experience of learning and challenging myself and really trying to integrate this new business in with our existing business. Was a wonderful challenge, and it worked out really well.
Absolutely. Was there ever a moment where you felt, now I'm a leader, like, okay, officially this is it?
I think there was a moment early on, one of the first few years after we'd bought CB Supplies. We came into a situation where there was a little bit of a sort of east versus west disconnect in the organization. There was previously two owners that, one was more in the east, one was in the west. And so it'd become a little bit of an us versus them mentality kind of within the company. And I was really trying to work hard to bring the organization together as one. And I remember having one of those terrible old conference calls, the way that we used to do, sitting around the boardroom table with a speakerphone in the middle. And we had this communication call where we had people on from our other branches across the country. And in that meeting, I just remember everyone was finger pointing. The factory wasn't making enough pipe, and there wasn't basically the distribution was saying we don't have enough product, and it's the factory's fault, and the factory's saying you didn't give us any forecasts, and everyone was kind of finger pointing and blaming each other. And I just remember very clearly getting quite upset about it and just saying that we can't do this anymore. And I basically just ended the call and I said, I'm not doing this. So I'm ending this meeting. And I hung up on everyone. And I hung up on everyone, and I walked right out the door, and I walked right out the front door of the building and just went for a walk around the block. And came back, and we had a follow-up meeting the next week. And I remember in that meeting just, starting off by giving a little speech to everyone and just saying, that is not who we are. That's not how we're going to work as an organization. We're going to operate as one company. We're one team. I don't care if you're, what province you're in. We're going to challenge each other, and we're going to expect the best out of each other, but we're going to be one team, and we're going to work together. And I just remember really trying to rally everybody around that concept of we are one team and one organization. And that type of discussion, that type of finger pointing challenge, it never happened again. So that was a moment I was very proud of, that a moment where I felt like I needed to really step up and address the situation. And it's been something I've been very proud of overall for the team, of how we've been able to really build upon that concept and really bring the whole company together when we are spread out, quite broadly, across, multiple time zones.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can attest, being with the company for almost 10 years, I have only experienced that collaboration environment, and, doors always open policy. So that's great. And my last question on leadership, would you say your leadership style has changed over the years? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think I've learned as I've sort of matured in the industry and in the business that sometimes early on, I think I tried to get into the details too much. Wanted to control to control everything and get involved in every meeting and every subject. And sometimes it can be a little bit hard to kind of release control that way. But I've definitely learned over the years that as a leader, that you have to be able to step back. You have to trust your people, have good people, make sure that they have the tools and everything they need to be successful, and then you've got to let them go. And I've found that that's something that's very important and allows our business to become scalable. I'm still checking in with our team regularly on those details of what's happening, but I'm not driving it as hands-on a way, I think, as I used to when in my earlier years in my career. And it's really helped us to grow and thrive, because when you have good people who feel like, I trust them and they trust me, we know that we're on the same page. They know that if they make a mistake, that's okay. They know that if there's a challenge, we can, discuss it together and work through it. But then we can actually scale the business, because if I try to run a business in a way that the growth of the business is going to be tied to the number of hours that I can put in, then we are going to be very limited in how much we're going to be able to do. So to make the business truly scalable, I still need to have my finger in a lot of different areas to know what's going on. But I certainly can't control every detail of it, or we'll never be able to scale the business. So I think that's the biggest thing, I think, that for me that's changed over the years.
Yeah. Oh, these are all great answers. Switching up a little bit, I'd love to hear your perspective. If you were speaking to someone outside of the industry, how would you describe the plumbing and heating and building material space? And if there's anything that maybe makes it unique?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an incredible industry. It's funny because when I think back to being in the family business, so initially before we had CB Supplies, American Granby's more in the pump and water well, pool and spa, irrigation and plumbing areas. And I remember just sort of sitting back thinking like, is this really what I want for my career? I'm going to get into, plumbing and, pumps and it just when you're sort of a teenager or early 20s, you may think that that's not kind of something that's appealing. um, and when you see all these big flashy fancy high-tech industries doing all kinds of interesting things, but I've really grown to love this industry, and it's really remarkable to me to see just how many different things there are to know within this industry, and how complex it truly is. If you ever get a chance to walk through one of the trade shows, like the big, CMPX show that the CIPH always puts on in Toronto every couple of years, it's incredible to see the variety of different companies, different different products, different roles that exist, whether it's from the installation side, the contractor side, actually, putting in a lot of these products and using them, compared to the wholesale distribution side, the manufacturing side, and then just the amazing breadth of products and technology that's gone in across the industry. It truly is remarkable to see just how much there is to offer within the industry. There's really something for pretty much everybody. So there's never a dull moment. You might think it's just going to be kind of all the same thing day in, day out, but I don't think I've ever had 2 days that have been the same in my career. It's constantly changing, rules changing, looking at codes and standards, constantly being updated, new product launches. The way that politics comes in and affects our industry as well, when there's new initiatives for construction in certain areas, home building projects. It's really there's a lot going on in this industry. So I would definitely recommend it to anyone considering it. There's a lot to offer.
Yeah, I've heard it been described as a hidden gem, and once you're in the industry, you don't leave. And for what I've seen so far, that is absolutely true. So on that topic, do you see this industry as a stable, long-term career path?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there will always be a need for construction products. Um, People need places to live, places to work. They need grocery stores, they need offices, they need homes. So, all of those things require plumbing and heating. And it's a part of the economy that really is critical. And having access to clean drinking water, and just general water to be able to flush toilets and have showers and everything that kind of goes with it, as well as comfortable heat in your home for the winters that we experience here in Canada, and the incredible heat that they experience down in the southern US. We need to make sure that we have systems in place to be able to consistently handle that and build for the future. So I really don't see this being an industry that's going to be wildly disrupted by AI or other sort of technological innovations. That there will certainly be improvements, and opportunities for efficiency, and technology will play a huge part in that. But this is an industry that it certainly is not going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Except up, of course.
Yeah, yes. And moving into really advice for the next generation, what skills would you recommend that young professionals focus on maybe first?
Yeah, no, great question. I think it's going to be really important. I think it's always been important, but it's especially important now, that young people really use their heads in terms of trying to understand really what is it, the project that they're working on, what is the company or the department trying to do with this project, or this report or whatever it is that you're working on, to really truly understand what's the purpose of it, and delve into that information, and understand what makes it tick. And what I mean by that is that if you're running, let's say you're running a report, I've said to people before, even to you, Katelyn, I remember saying, you've run a report, you've done a margin analysis or whatever it might be, give it the smell test. Does
Yeah.
the information that you're getting back, does this seem reasonable? Does this seem right? If you're expecting that our margins on a category are normally 20% and the report says 80%, it's quite possible that you missed something. So go back in and evaluate that, dig into that information, and really understand how you're getting to that answer. And I would say that information, or that process of really studying and understanding what you're doing, is going to be critical for the future. Because even if AI comes in and starts dramatically disrupting our industry, you can AI will only be as good as the information you put into it. And if you're giving it the wrong inputs, it's going to give you an incorrect output. So it's going to be more important, I think, than ever to make sure that people are truly understanding the scope of what it is that we're trying to do, what are we looking for, and what are all the individual components that went into that, so that when the answer is being spat back out at you, that you understand, does this look about right? And can I break this down now and really understand the meaning behind it? And I think that concept can apply to really almost any industry, almost any job. But I think that's a critical thing for young people, I think, coming up in this industry, to really learn and understand all of those things, and also just understanding the products and the way that products fit together. What's complementary products to some of the products that you're selling? What are those kind of adjacent industries, to ours? And when you see a trend in one, is that going to affect ours? So really just having that broader understanding of what's happening in your company, in your department, in your industry, and in your individual project, will go a long way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just looking at the overall big picture is obviously very beneficial. And we will ask one last question for the next generation. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self, or to someone who would like to be in a senior leadership position in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe rather than what I'd say to myself,
Yeah.
advice I would maybe give to to someone that's kind of starting out and looking for that next opportunity is work hard, but work smart, ask good questions. Don't be afraid to speak up in a meeting. If it's even if it's maybe you feel like it's not your place, like, be ready to contribute. Be smart about it. Make sure you're not overstepping your boss or anything like that. But make sure that get noticed, and make sure that you're on top of the subjects, and be thinking and positioning yourself not just for where you are, but where you want to be. And if you start asking good questions, getting in front of the right people, getting involved, volunteering for those extras, whether it's within an industry association or a special project group kind of within the company, put yourself out there, and also don't be afraid to ask for advice. Managers, whether it's middle-level managers or senior managers, owners, people love to be asked for their advice. And if you say, look, I don't know exactly where I want to go in my career, but I'm thinking I'm looking at something like this. Can you help me get there? Help me build a path. What skills do I need to work on? How can I improve myself in order to try to get there? You'll be amazed at how people will step up and help you, and give you guidance, to try to help you achieve those goals. So don't be afraid to ask questions, ask for help, and be respectful about it. But don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And obviously working at CB, I can strongly say that's the environment we've worked in. And I've asked lots of questions over the years, and I know that you've encouraged me to join CIPH in these committees. So it's been a great experience. And I'd like to thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I know you've provided a lot of great insights, and I know the audience is going to be really excited to see this.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and good luck to everyone out there.